over our target. 2 minutes time and Bill bombing forward.
Want me to start now? I'm Dick Nelms, a former B-17 pilot with the 17th Squadron, 447th Bomb Group, and the 8th Air Force based in England during World War II. In 1944, I flew 35 combat missions into Germany and Nazi-occupied territory. The 17 had 4 radial supercharged engines, 104-foot wingspan, 75 feet long, could carry 8,000 pounds of bombs, 3,600 gallons of 100-octane gasoline, and 13 50-caliber machine guns. The crew of 10 had the navigator and bombardier in the nose, then the 2 pilots up on top in the cockpit. Directly behind them would be the top turret gunner. Then the radio operator, the ball turret gunner down underneath, 2 gunners in the waist, the left and right, and the tail. The pilots had a sheet of 1/4 inch steel that was shaped something like the human body behind each pilot, because the fighter attacks would come in shooting at the pilots. And that was nice to have that behind us. The waist gunners had a sheet of the same metal that was curved to fit the side of the waist, about from here down to the floor. And that, to me, was the only armor plating inside. And my ball turret gunner told me that he could see the shells coming up from below. He'd be looking down and he'd spot some black dots, and pretty soon they would get bigger and bigger, and then you would see that there were metal shells, and they'd come up and explode. I wouldn't have wanted to do that. Each gunner had 27 feet of 50 caliber machine gun bullets, and that's where the whole 9 yards expression came in, where they completely, at 45 seconds, they deplete their complete line of ammunition. Well, it takes us 45 seconds. And one heck of a good airplane. We trained as a crew in North Texas for about a month or so, and then flew over to the UK, ending up near a little town called Rattlesden, Suffolk County, where the 447th was based. The people there were very kind and generous to us. And of course, our bomb group had been there for a few months. We were a replacement crew. And after some indoctrination and orientation, we became operational. All of a sudden, if you're in the lead group, the sky starts exploding around you. Everywhere you look, you see black puffs of smoke occurring. When one's close and you fly through it, your airplane bounces around and you hear the sickening sound of pieces of steel punching holes through the aluminum skin of your airplane. The Nazis knew that their 88s and 105 millimeter cannon would fire straight up at about 1,000 feet a second. Their rangefinders that were radar supported would establish our altitude. And if we're at 25,000 feet, which we were most of the time, 25, 6, or 7, they would set their fuse at 25 seconds. And then it would figure, if we're here when they fire, where will we be? The group, of course. Where will the group be in 25 seconds? And that's their convergence point, hoping that an explosion and a B-17 arrive at the same spot in the sky at the same time. And they would come close. And on this particular mission to Berlin, they not only did that, they not only did the tracking, but they put up what they call a barrage box ahead of us. So 3 or 4 miles ahead of us, they would fire a number of cannon, I don't know, I'd guess maybe 200 or 300, into one area, and you'd have a gray explosion going on with just, you could see the black puffs of smoke, and the sky would turn from blue to gray. You had to fly right through it. And that would be a pretty dangerous situation. We didn't get into talk about combat or were you afraid? You know, today, I think the pilot would call a meeting, and we'd sit there and say, now, let's talk about handling fear. Well, if I had done that then, they would have thought I was turning coward. You know, what's he want to talk about fear for? Not a, you know, every man handled it on his own. And I think that there was a lot of courage in that airplane. I talked myself out of being scared. If that's being brave, okay. But on this Berlin mission now, we were in flak for almost a half hour, if you can imagine having those shells bursting around it for that length of time. It seemed like 2 or 3 hours. And even flying formation, peripherally, you could see what was going on up ahead. This particular mission was what they call a maximum effort. I don't know how many groups went. It could have been, gosh, it could have been 40 or almost 50 groups going to the same target. And I saw 5 of our planes going down while we were on the bomb run from up ahead. Some on fire, some just out of control. To see a B-17 spinning is pretty awful.
We're in a room here, it's called the XR Lab, and we're making use of virtual reality technology. We have a VR experience which is about a bombing mission to Berlin and back. It was recorded by a BBC reporter who actually was recording on a disc, probably a wax disc. And you're actually inside the plane. You hear the original narration, but everything else is reconstructed. And it's a flight from England to Berlin and then back again, and what the experiences were. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you would be interested in trying out?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, well, okay, just take me a second to get set up here.
There goes a bigger red flash, the biggest we've yet seen. That must be the first of the big 400,000-pound bombs going down. It's black coming up at us now. That one went down, and it was pretty near to me. Our aircraft rocked. So we're running straight into the most gigantic display of fireworks in the world. We're due over our target. We're 2 minutes' time, and Bill, our bomb aimer, is forward. He's lying prone over his bomb sight.
We heard about your experiences, authentic experiences during the Second World War and the mission to Berlin and back. We also had a chance to try out a virtual reality experience that was a recreation by the BBC of that mission, that same mission. And of course we were interested to find out how the virtual reality experience compared with your actual experience?
Well, the virtual reality was very exciting. Not having done that before, especially, and the mission and the way it was explained and the explosions and everything, very real, but absolutely no fear involved there at all, because I knew that it was manufactured and it wasn't real, and the airplane wasn't bouncing around, and I couldn't hear pieces of steel coming through the airplane. Anti-aircraft was much more dense when I flew over Berlin than was shown in the virtual reality film. The other thing was that when a shell burst, we would see black smoke, and at nighttime you could see the flame. And that, to me, would have been more frightening than what I experienced. Whoa. Very nice.
It's a little disorienting coming back, isn't it?
Yeah, that was very good. The pilot's right in front of me, you know.
Yeah.
And I put my it's quite pretty amazing.